to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back once again. It is Sunday afternoon, and I'm tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And actually, it's not afternoon; it is morning. It's just kind of how my life is lately. I can't get the time of day correct. So I hope everyone's been doing good. I know, again, I'm always late on the podcast, but here you go. I won't dwell too much on that. Just trying to think. We got a lot of big news coming up that we'll discuss here in a minute. I'm just kind of thinking. I did a permit class yesterday and a bunch of private classes, private classes earlier this week. Kind of some unique classes. I had a class with 3 people in it, and they all showed up with what? They all showed up with hammer-fired guns. Which is yeah. I mean, I've had those kind of guns in class before, but I mean, every person has one of those. It was a good class. They were all 3 working on a few different things, trying to get a little more proficient at their shooting, work on some trigger press. To one gentleman was, he was trying to work on repeated follow-up shots quicker, and he was sporting a CZ. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with a bunch of really, overly familiar with the CZ products, but it was a nice gun that he'd done some work to, and that thing was slick. It was about a 3-pound trigger on that thing, and it was really nice. I know he's listening to the podcast, so I just let him know I'm super impressed with his gun. So I had a permit class yesterday. And I had I had 7 people in that class. It's kind of a smaller class, but it's really nice. Those classes are really nice. I get to, kind of get to know the students a little bit better, get some more kind of like one-on-one time with them. Because, I'm not spread out over 20 people. Not that I'm complaining about big classes. Big classes pay the bills. But the smaller classes are pretty nice. Had some fantastic shooters in that class as well. They all did really good. And, something came up that I see quite a bit, actually. And I just kind of want to point it out. Like, when you have your gun, I'm not saying everyone does this, and some people just don't know, right? When you have a gun and you clean the gun, it's coming from me, someone who doesn't clean his guns very often, but I do have a particular way that I do like to do it. But don't over oil your gun. And I guess I can see if you want to leave it in the safe and you want to get a little extra oil on it because, you're not going to shoot it for a long time and, it's just going to kind of sit there. I understand that. I understand putting a little bit more oil on it because you want to protect from the moisture, the humidity, the rust, all that stuff. Well, protect your firearms. Now, we don't live in an overly humid area here. We're pretty dry. I mean, I live in the high desert of southern Idaho. I mean, it's not really known for its humidity, but when you take the gun and you're going to go shoot it, if you go to a class or go to shoot it or whatever, the gun shouldn't be leaking oil. When you clean your gun, clean it all, use the solvent, use the brush, get it all, spick and span, get it all polished up and good to go. And then, when I oil my guns afterwards, right, I take a little rag. I take a rag or a patch, a clean patch. I drop my gun oil or lubricant of choice, whatever it might be, on that patch, and then I rub it all over like the outside of the barrel. I rub it on the inside of the slide. And after I rub it everywhere, all over the gun, right? You want to get it on there, get it good and protected. And then what I do is I take a clean rag, a dry rag, and I wipe it all off again. And when you do that, it leaves behind just a very little film behind that is just enough to protect the gun. Now, I then take some Q-tips, like the pointy ones. You can buy them specially for gun cleaning equipment, or you can go to your local Walmart and you can buy like I think my wife buys them. They're like the makeup style Q-tips where they come to a point. And you can dip the tip of that in your lubricant, in the oil, whatever you want. And then I run it down the inside of the rails on the frame of the gun and on the slide, where the slide rides, right? I don't just squirt the oil in there and drop a bunch of oil in there. Okay? You do that, it's going to leak out everywhere. But I take and I just dip it in there and I just run it down the grooves, right? Just give it a kind of a once over. You don't need much. A little goes a long ways. And then I put the gun back together and run it. Now, when you shoot the gun, it shouldn't be leaking oil. When you shoot the gun, it shouldn't be splattering oil everywhere. I mean, that's way too much. You're going to end up making it to where, I'm not picking on anyone. I mean, this just happened in a class I had yesterday, and I've seen it before where it splatters and it gets up onto the optic, and you can't use the optic real well, and it leaks out of the side of your gun between the frame and the slide, and the next thing you know, I mean, you can't grip the gun. It's just a the whole gun is covered in oil. It's just a slippery mess at that point. And one of the key features to being able to shoot a gun correctly is by having the correct grip. And through the correct grip, we create friction. And the more friction you create with the gun, that friction takes place where the surface of your hand comes into contact with the firearm. The more friction that you can create, the more you're able to mitigate that recoil and shoot that gun without having any problems. That is the goal of shooting the gun, is controlling the recoil and controlling the firearm. Now, when your firearm is covered in oil, that's pretty hard to do. It's really hard to do. When you shoot that gun, it shouldn't splatter oil out. I've had students with firearms that they tell me that they've cleaned and they've oiled up and they're ready to go. And when they're shooting them, it's literally just splattering oil out the side. You're getting oil on the table. You're getting oil all over your hands. You're getting oil on your iPro. You're getting it on your neighbor that you're standing next to. I mean, I've seen some guns that it just looks like they're bleeding oil. So it's no good. It makes it so you can't shoot it properly. You can't grip it like you should. And, depending on the situation that you're in, if you're outside shooting on an outdoor range, which is, what I have here. And yesterday was a fine example of that toward the end of the summer after, we don't get a lot of rain here. And in the springtime, it's not so bad. But by the end of summer, after we've shot into, the dirt berm quite a bit and everything's dried out, it's like a fine powder. The berm is like a fine powder. And when you shoot into it, it does what? It creates a cloud of dirt, a cloud of dust. And when you have a gun that is bleeding oil, all that oil is going to do is collect all that dust, all that stuff, and it's going to put it right back into your gun. So essentially, you clean your gun the night before, you use the solvent, use the oil, you lubed it all up, you're ready to go. It's over oiled. You take it to class the next day, and you start creating that dust, and it just goes all back on into that gun. And it just takes all that hard work you do. I want to say that it's probably, honestly, more harmful for the gun because it just sucks in all that dirt. It sucks in all that dust. So let's pay attention to when we clean firearms. I should pay attention to when I clean my firearms, which needs to happen this year. It really does. I need to get them cleaned. So so that's just a kind of concern. When I'm helping someone shoot, it's just, I hate grabbing onto the gun that's just leaking oil because, I know then when I go help, the other guy down on the other end of the line that I'm just going to be covering their gun in oil. Nothing. I'm not going to be able to hold on to anything. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous at this point. So I'm trying to look here. There's a new gun that came out that I wanted to talk about, and I just got to find the link to it. I'm looking here, and what was interesting was Magnum sent this to me, and I'm not going to be able to find it because I want to. There it is. So the TISA, now I don't think that's how you say it, just did TISA, TISAS. I think they have the 1911s that they have been coming out with. It's a Turkish type deal. Really good firearm. Magnum just sent me a link, and they actually came out with what they call the TISA PX9, and it looks like it's a striker-fired 9mm. It comes with an 18 and 20 round mags. And when you look at this thing, and it's reasonably priced, I'd like to know how good a gun that it is. It looks okay. but it looks exactly like it almost looks identical to a Taurus TX22, which I think is super interesting. Just, I don't know, man. It looks like a Taurus TX22. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just a kind of an interesting little concept. I'd like to know how it shoots. So if you've got one of those, I mean, let me know. Shoot me a text, give me a call, area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I have been in contact with some listeners who got a hold of me through text message this last week, and they were giving me ideas for, topics for the podcast, and I do appreciate that. And I kind of had this one planned, but I did like the last topic that was sent to me. I'll surprise you guys. I won't tell you what it's going to be, but I have taken that into consideration, and I am planning that into a future episode. So just kind of, if you've got an idea of topic of conversation for me, I mean, let me know. I'm always open to suggestions for sure. It's kind of, it helps, right? Some people think you just walk in here and you sit down and you talk. And part of it is what you do, right? But you also have to have topics. You have to have things to talk about. You got to stay kind of organized, which is kind of probably where I'd fail at. But it's not live. It's just not live. Like, I'm going to re-listen to this and I can edit it if I want. We'll be honest, I won't, but I can. And it's still a little, I still get a little nervous doing it. And you got to do your homework, and you got to get the audio clips together and the pictures together and stuff, and all your reference materials together if you really want to sound good and professional, which, I'm not sure I do, but I certainly try. But there's a lot that goes into it. So, and I'm trying to do this and come up with these topics of conversation without repeating stuff over and over and over again. I've probably, over the course of this 8 years, I don't know how long I've been doing these podcasts, but over the course of a long time, I'm sure I've talked about trigger press, probably a dozen different times, right? And I don't want to bore people, and I don't want to keep hitting that stuff over and over and over again, even though it is important. So I do welcome topics, conversations. Now, if you send me a topic and say, hey, you should talk about this on the podcast, don't get your feelings hurt if I don't use it. I can't get to them all, but I do take them all into consideration. I do have a list. I keep a running list, and that I pull from when I need to. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the listeners. I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate all the help that I can get. And I'm trying to think. There was one more thing. I didn't write this down. This is my mistake. There was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. And I can't, for the life of me, remember what it was. I know the oily guns, that was one topic, but I'll tell you what, I'm just going to move on. If it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But we're going to go right into the news. So some big story coming out of New Mexico. Coming out of New Mexico, the governor of New Mexico making a big statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it, and we can check out what that is.
So effective immediately, no person other than a law enforcement officer or licensed security officer shall possess a firearm, either openly or concealed. We're suspending open and concealed carry.
Well, I'm going to have to edit all that out. That was a big mess. But there was that. So that's what has happened in New Mexico. She has suspended open and concealed carry in the city of Albuquerque for the next 30 days. And I got one more audio clip. We're going to play you a little bit of information on it, and then I'm going to delve in because I obviously, along with a lot of other people, have some very, very, very strong opinions about this. Here you go.
Yes, all the examples you cited are crimes. Kids shooting at other kids, shooting from cars. So what's the value of the civil order? Why not just do better law enforcement?
Both. The value of the order is that it gives me three things. One, It says it's a statewide issue and it's a message to everyone to start leveraging their resources and arresting people. 2, the jurisdictions come at this, including with the DOJ restrictions, differently, without the leveraging and the additional resources, arresting, and where do they go? We got to make sure that everyone is bumping up their services. It's a message to the Metropolitan Detention Center. It's a message to the HMOs. You better figure out treatment. We have been sort of stalled out. To your point, this order basically says stop stalling out, and to your point, just arrest everyone. Well, I also have to have the ability, I can't arrest everyone. There are literally too many people to arrest.
Well,
This would allow us,
if someone's got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
I can make the point that maybe they should be. And this is the point. I'm willing to do anything and everything within a shred of evidence-based effort. Because if you're not horrified that on any street corner in too many cities in New Mexico, there is someone with a gun sticking out of their waist or their belt. And I'll tell you, if you're a young person, you're not allowed to have a handgun.
Well, it's a crime already.
I got it, but we won't be able to arrest all of them. So imagine, just in a perfect world, if this was upheld, it gives all of these police officers the ability to focus on the real criminals.
Last follow-up.
Yeah.
But
your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Well, wait a minute. Okay. You're talking about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it. But again, if I'm unsafe, who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of control, somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Madam Governor,
Yep.
do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message.
So let's talk about this, right? I mean, obviously she can't do what she's doing. You cannot come in and suspend someone's constitutional rights under an emergency declaration. You can't do that. It has been proven in the past. Think back to New Orleans. Think back to Katrina. You can't do that. There were lawsuits. And they lost. They had to pay out a settlement because you cannot do that. In fact, Section 242 of Title 18, right, in U.S. Code, it says makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or the laws of the United States. And let's go and let's do this because I've got another one pulled up here. 18 U.S. Code 241, conspiracy against rights. If two or more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of having of his having so exercised the same, or if two or more persons go in disguise on the highway or on the premises of another with the intent to prevent or hinder, my voice cracking there, or hinder his free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse or an attempt to kill, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years, or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. They cannot do this. This is against the law. She is coming in just like everyone else, just like all the other Democrats, all the other gun grabbers, everyone else who wants to change the world, who doesn't believe in the Constitution and wants to change it to suit them. They come in, they do whatever they want because they know they're probably, to a certain extent, going to get away with it. And if they don't, it'll go to the court and they will lose out. And there's a good chance they're just going to get a slap on the wrist. They do whatever they want, but she cannot legally do this. And I've talked long and hard about, well, now's not the time. Now's not the time to rise up. Now's not the time to cause problems. Now's not the time to take the shot. And I'm not calling for any of that, but I'm telling you what, New Mexico, they are taking your constitutional rights. They are suspending them in a time of an emergency. They cannot do that. They cannot do that. And in my mind, you don't have to comply. And I know if you've listened to this podcast for, any amount of time, you're going to think, well, Todd, that's not the way you're usually the last guy to say, let's, calm down, settle down. Let's get this figured out. Let's not cause a problem. But honestly, she said in there, if you listen to what she said, what did she say? I cannot arrest everyone. I'm not going to arrest everyone. I want the law enforcement. This is funny. She wants to suspend your rights of a person, a legal citizen, to be taken, have their legal rights, Second Amendment rights, taken away from them, so the law enforcement can concentrate on the problem at hand, which is what? Bad guys with guns. I don't think that the law enforcement officers in that area or in that state are so busy bothering people that can legally conceal carry their guns to focus on criminals. This is absolutely asinine. The criminals aren't going to stop carrying their firearms. The criminals didn't obey the laws to begin with. This isn't going to fix anything. And she kind of comes out and says that. She is just she pretty much just says she's trying to make a point. She doesn't care about you. She cares about what she wants. And you know what she did? She marched out of that press conference with what? Surrounded by armed security. I mean, she says in there that the only people that are going to be allowed to have firearms for the next 30 days in Albuquerque are what? Are law enforcement and security guards. First of all, I want to say that I think that normal, everyday people that carry firearms are, there's some of them that are not, but I think there's a good portion of them that are more well-trained than law enforcement. They're more well-trained in freaking security guards of all things, right? There's a lot of them. I mean, there's some that are very well-trained, law enforcement and security guards, but the majority of them, they do it because they love it, right? The majority of the everyday folks that carry go out and get more training. They pay for it out of their own pocket. They're better off with a firearm than most law enforcement officers are. This is absolutely ridiculous. She snubbed her nose at you. And notice how she, like I said, she wrote this for you, to affect you, not to affect law enforcement, not to affect security guards, security officers, right? Because guess what? And I mentioned this when it came to the state of Oregon the other day. Those people in that state are paying her salary with their tax dollars. She just took away or suspended their constitutional rights for 30 days. Yet she's using our money to fund her security, to fund her being surrounded with armed security. absolutely crazy. I don't know what to tell you to do, Albuquerque. I don't know what to tell you to do, New Mexico. But at this point, I don't know, man. I think if I lived there, honestly, I'd probably still carry. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you carry and you carry correctly and you carry concealed and you're not stupid about it, you're not ridiculous about it, right? And you pay attention to what's going on, they won't know that you're carrying anyway. And I say carry on, man. Carry on, because it's your constitutional right. Be smart about it. But I honestly don't think, I think the sheriff has come out and made a statement how it goes against the constitutional rights, and he is not going to enforce it. I think he kind of came out and said that. But then I heard something else. Someone else came out and said that he kind of seemed like he was going to go along with it. So if they're watching you, if they're looking at you, if they're watching you as a legal concealed carry holder, and they're busy looking for you, they're really not doing their job. They're really not looking for the criminal or the guy that, this all stemmed from a road rage incident is what they're calling it, where an 11-year-old boy was shot and killed. They need to be taking care of that situation, right? They don't need to be punishing you. Someone gets shot and killed. That's unfortunate. It was a child. It's an unfortunate and a very sad event when anything like that happens. But they're punishing you. I don't know if it was a Friday night, Saturday night. I don't know what night it was, but you were probably at home eating dinner with your family. Maybe you were at your kid's soccer practice. You did absolutely nothing wrong, yet you're being punished for it. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. It's like the governor of that state is just throwing a little temper tantrum. She's a Democratic governor, obviously, and maybe New Mexico, you need to check it who you put into office. But it's like she's throwing a little temper tantrum. She wants what she wants, and this is an excuse to do it. I doubt she really honestly cares about the kid that was killed, but she just is using this to punish you. She's going to punish you because everyone who owns a gun, everyone who carries a gun is a criminal in her eyes. I guarantee it is a criminal. And she says that in her speech there. She gets, I have to replay it again and find the clip, but she jumps in there and she says it's astonishing to her, and it should be astonishing and bewildering, or whatever word she used, terrifying to her, and it should be terrifying to everyone else, that you could be on a street corner in Albuquerque and there's going to be someone there with a firearm. I guarantee you, lady, you talk to a lot of people every single day, and I guarantee you there's a good portion of them that are armed and you never even knew it. And that gun didn't jump up and bite you. It did not jump up and bite you. In fact, you understand that. You want to know why? Because you're okay with firearms when they're protecting you. You're just not okay with us owning firearms. The firearms that are surrounding you are just fine. And guess what? They've never jumped out of the holsters on their own and shot you. Why? Because the people that have those firearms, your security, your police officers, they have never drawn them and used them. And 99.9999% of concealed carry holders, that's the way it works. They're there to protect themselves and when they need to, and most people never even use their gun to do so, but it's there if they need it. This is just horrifying to me. And take a good look at it. This is coming to a state near you, maybe your state. Right? We see this stuff happening all the time. The American people should be outraged, and I know according to all the stuff I'm seeing on social media and TikTok and whatnot, people are absolutely outraged. And buckle up, New Mexico. I would still do what you want to do and kind of just see what happens. Like she said, you can't arrest all of you, and if you're doing it correctly, they won't know. I really doubt they're checking you. I really doubt there's checkpoints where they're checking you. If it gets to that point, we're in big trouble. But carry on is the way I look at it. Carry on, you do you. Just ignore this crazy lunatic, because that's all it is. She's a whiny baby that is throwing a temper tantrum. And she pretty much says, I can do what I want in there if you listen to her. I can do this. There's one exception. I can do this. Well, lady, you are wrong. Because you cannot do that. It's been proven. I just read the statutes. I read all that stuff. You cannot do that. You uneducated wench. That's all I have to say about that. It just absolutely infuriates me. So on to a lighter topic. So I made reference, and I posted a post on by the way, I did post a live video yesterday on Facebook after my class about this. Freaking it never loaded or something. I swear Facebook is out to get me. That live video never loaded. I clicked all the right buttons and it said it was loading and it would appear shortly, and it never loaded, and I lost it, and it was some good work. I'm telling you what, it was good work. It's a good video. But I'll have to keep trying. But I think, Facebook, as usual, is out to get me. But if you pay attention to the Facebook page or you listen to the last couple episodes of the podcast, I have referred to something that I am doing. Well, it's time for me to introduce you all to this crazy, wacky idea that I had. So I've mentioned it before, I do a radio show on Friday mornings, a local radio show. And lately, I've been getting the audio, and I've been able to upload that to Facebook. So even if you aren't from the area, right, you can always listen on the app live. But even if you're not from the area and you're on the social media, you can actually have been able to listen to the radio show. Someone called in, and he talked about that, years ago, he said, hey, whatever happened to this, man? Whatever, it's a gun show I do. He goes, whatever happened to this? He goes, handgun hunting. It used to be a big thing. There's a number of people that are really active in handgun hunting. And I remember back in the day, when Thompson Contenders came out, it was pretty much a rifle round that was in a small, it was a large, but it was it wasn't a rifle, but it was kind of in pistol form. They're usually single shot type deals, that kind of thing. And people would hunt with them. And, people obviously can hunt with handguns as well, given it's the right caliber for the species and all that stuff. And he said he would like to hear more about that, because it kind of was there for a while, and then it kind of went away. And I think what happened is, newer rifle cartridges came out, and I think people really got into this whole long range shooting, long range hunting type of situation. I think it's kind of started to fade away a little bit. So as I'm thinking there, I was thinking about that. I hunt, right? And I hunt with my old faithful 270 all the time. And I'm not, I'm a pretty successful hunter. Some years I get one, some years I don't. It is what it is. And I got to thinking, why don't I handgun hunt? Why don't I hunt with a handgun? Why don't I try that? Got to thinking about the guns that I have. And I thought, I don't know if I want to hunt with any of the guns that I have. And then I noticed that there was a company that has been interacting. Actually, they interacted with my Patriot Defense Facebook page, so my business page, which was High Point. And you probably know where I'm going with this. High Point started interacting with my on my Facebook page, because I shared one of their posts. And I kind of laughed, and I said, I think I posted something like, "Oh, I've made it now. High Point has commented on my one of my posts." And then I said, I posted up another comment that said, "Come on, High Point." I said, "Come on, like my page, follow my page." And sure enough, about 15 minutes later, they followed my page. And they've been interacting just a smidge, a few times with the other people that are on my Patriot Defense Facebook page. They've been, liking or commenting or responding just a little bit, right? And, I do have a yeet cannon, and it's okay. And I'll be honest, I've made fun of it, but the thing does go bang. Is it the prettiest thing? Nope. Is it the most refined thing to shoot? Nope. Does it go bang every time I press the trigger? Yep. Does it go bang every time I press the trigger after a bunch of abuse? Yep. Is it comfortable to shoot? Nope. But it goes bang. And I got to thinking, I was like, what am I going to use to hunt big game? And I thought, this would be absolutely this would be a lot of fun. So I went out and I made a purchase. I went out and I picked up a new to me High Point JXP10. So High Point's new 10 millimeter. And I picked this thing up, and I decided that I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to hunt deer with this thing this year. And I could foresee, lots of stuff going on with this. I could foresee, making some videos, making some YouTube shorts, podcast episodes. It's a whole marketing thing, right? It wasn't a big investment money wise, and I think it would just be fun. Of course, I want to do stuff on TikTok videos, all kinds of stuff. I think it'd be absolutely just entertaining and fun. But I am dead serious. I want to go, and I think it'll do just fine. I mean, it's a 10 millimeter. It's going to it'll take a deer just fine. Like I have zero doubts that it'll take a deer. It's me getting close enough to be able to taking it. Obviously I can't take any, I can't go out there and be taking 200 and 300 yard shots with this thing. It's going to be super close. And I understand that it'll be kind of like, it'll be a short range in Idaho. I've done my checking. I've gone through the regs, and I believe I legally can do this with that handgun. I'm going to look here at my photos, because according to Idaho regs, and maybe someone's going to read this and go, hey, Todd, like, you're mistaken. Yet I haven't done anything yet. I haven't broken any laws yet. So let me find where it says this. Oh, shoot. I really thought of this up while I was on vacation. I was on my little trip. And let's see, right here. It says during a short range weapon only season, only the following weapons may be used. Now this is for Idaho. Okay, it says any handgun using straight wall center fire cartridges not originally developed for rifles. So that would be a 10 millimeter. It's straight walled. And we're good to go. I mean, I'm good to go as far as I can tell. And I can go, a general season, any weapon hunt, as long as I am taking the right species of deer and the right sex of deer and all that stuff. So I'm good to go. Now, this is going to be a little harder over here in Idaho, folks. I know if you're from back east and whatnot, or somewhere where there's like a lot of trees where you hunt. Like I hunt the high desert. There's not a whole lot of trees. I could see sitting in a tree stand and being able to do this and getting nice and close. Around here, I could see sitting in a blind possibly on a water hole. That's still going to be a challenge. The challenging part, folks, is going to be getting close enough to a deer, just like with archery hunting, to actually make a good ethical shot. And that's what I want to do. I'm not just going to be slinging lead downrange with my fingers crossed. I am going to go ahead and start shooting this thing, and I'm going to see, as far as like how far can I shoot this thing and have it be somewhat accurate, right, or decently accurate. And then I'm going to look at the caliber itself, and so at a distance. And I have read some stories. I have read some people's experiences with actual round, not coming from a high point, obviously, so they aren't as classy as me. But they, a lot of them say, 50 yards is perfect. Closer is even better. One guy says if you can make the shot, you set up your gun to where you can make the shot. They say that a 10 millimeter is even good out to probably 75, 80 yards. So we'll check it out. I'll do some looking. I'll do my research a little bit. But I'm looking forward to this. Now, this season, most of the season, at least the general season, I don't know about these short weapon areas or seasons. The general any weapon season starts on October 10th. So it's coming up. It's coming up pretty quick. Actually, exactly a month. And I just picked up this handgun, and I have not shot it yet. I want to tell you right now, if you guys have ever dealt with a high point in a 9mm, like I have the Geek Cannon, that's a large gun. It's a big, heavy gun for what it is. The 10 millimeter does not disappoint. It's probably twice what the 9mm or twice what the Yeet Cannon is. It is absolutely massive. And I didn't expect anything less. Mine's got a threaded barrel too, so if I had a suppressor, I'd be set, man. I'd be stealthy on them deer, but I don't. But when you rack the slide on this thing, it's like grasping a 2x4. To rack the slide on the thing. It is absolutely ridiculous how big and how heavy this gun is. Now, this is kind of the tactic. The JXP10 is kind of tactical to a certain extent, man. It comes with a Picatinny rail on it. And the gun is really heavy anyway, which I can shoot it, right? But here's the thing. I want to be as steady as I possibly can while I'm hunting deer, right? If I get a shot at a deer, I want it to be steady. And so I was going to take some shooting sticks or like a stand up, like like a large bipod type thing you'd use for a rifle anyway. But I think I'm going to research it now. I'm going to see if I can get one that will attach right to that Picatinny rail. So if I see a deer, I'm going to have the handgun connected to that. I'm going to whip I'm going to whip the bipod out, extend them out real quick, whatever, unfold the sucker, and be ready to go. Now, I was looking at the sights on the high points, and they leave a lot to be desired. They really do. And I was thinking back of, looking online, kind of looking at pictures, these old big, revolvers that people hunt with. And they have like little pistol scopes on them. Now, I can't hook anything electronic up to this high point. I can't. You can't hunt with anything electronic mounted to your gun as far as I know. So dots and anything like that, that's out. But I was looking, is there a way I can mount a scope onto this, like a pistol type scope, right? Onto this high point, this JXP-10. Is there a way to do it? It couldn't be attached to the slide. So it's going to have to be, I'm going to have to fab something, try myself, or have somebody fab something up to where it screws on to where the grip is. Now, this is going to be an ugly deal here. It's not beautiful anyway, but where it screws down below, like possibly into the already existing, screw holes, like where the grip is. So it's going to have to screw into place there. It's going to be a chunk of metal that comes up, jogs in a little bit to go right next to and over the slide, still allowing the slide enough clearance to cycle. And so this would be separate of the slide. It'd be attached to the frame, go up over, that would be sturdy enough and stable enough that I could mount a pistol scope to it. That's how that's going to have to work if I do it. And I'm going to take a look at this over the next couple of days, because if I'm going to do this, I need to get it done. Now, I honestly do not want to spend a bunch of money on this endeavor. I mean, I'll spend enough, but it's not, I'm going to spend thousands of dollars on this. I'm probably going to have to purchase, or borrow a pistol scope. Has anyone got a pistol scope like I could borrow? Like, I wouldn't damage it, but I need to figure out how to attach it to whatever thing that I make, the attachment that I make to attach it to the gun. I mean, I'd give it back, but I might have to go buy one of those and find out what the footprint is, because then I'd have to build this piece. Now, I know some people that have a machine shop. I know a guy that has a machine shop. I know a guy that's got a table that would probably cut one out for me, and I'm kind of thinking about doing it myself. I don't know how long something like that would take to build. I think, honestly, it would be pretty simple. I would love to get a little scope mounted on the top of that, along with my bipod. And then, I think I would even making that 50-yard shot, I'd feel just a little more confident about it, because those sights on the high point, they aren't fantastic, and they weren't, necessarily made for hunting per se. So I think a scope would work out well. Now, is there any reason why that wouldn't work? Does anyone have any idea? Or, I mean, I'm not the guy this is just an idea I have. I'm not the guy to say that's going to work or that's not going to work, but it definitely is. The more I think about it, I want to do that. Now, I've got a gentleman that has volunteered his time, as long as we can make it work. He does have a job as well, to come over with I have some GoPros. He's got some action cams, that kind of thing. I do have a guy that has volunteered to come over and go on the hunt with me and help me hunt this deer. Or not help me hunt this deer, but like record it so I can make some videos. And I think I'm going to call the series, even wherever I post this thing, I think I'm call it Hunting with High Point. Or, yeah, hunting with high point. I think that is a good, Hunting with High Point would be the good thing to name the series. Now, this is going to be everywhere. So if you aren't on my social medias, get on the social medias right now. You'll hear about it on the podcast as well. I'm on YouTube. I'm probably going to figure out how to do some YouTube shorts, make some YouTube videos. I'm going to try to record everything, me going out and shooting this thing, just my initial thoughts. And then if I can, hopefully, fingers crossed, get a scope mounted on it, you'll be able to show you guys that and show me shooting that as well. I got to find some really good hunting ammo in the 10 mil, so I got to come up with that. I'm going to have TikTok videos. I'm going to do Instagram stuff. I'm going to do Facebook. You name it, man. I'm just going to saturate my social media with this stuff. And I'm going to tag High Point in it because it'd be really cool if High Point would pick this up, right? And you know, I'm not expecting anything from High Point, but if they wanted to pick it up and share it, that would be absolutely fantastic. You know, who knows? Maybe I get invited to SHOT Show. I'd be in the High Point booth. Great. That'd be fun. It would be fun, man. I think I really like what I see on the High Point of you know, social media pages. Their face, they've got a good sense of humor. I think they know what they produce, and they know that a lot of people buy them anyway. And they got a good sense of humor. I think they're a bunch of good guys. I really kind of enjoy seeing what they post and how they do it. Even though people give them so much crap, but. So there you go. I'm looking forward to that. Hunting with High Point. Now, I've got the Kydex. I even thought about crafting myself a holster for my High Point, my JXP-10. The thing is freaking massive. I can't believe how heavy that thing is. It is absolutely massive. I think, you know, and it's just me. This is just my take on it, because honestly, out of the guys that come on this podcast, like, no one else has handled this thing yet. No one's looked at it. No one's shot it. But if you get on and you see how much this thing weighs, and you can just compare. It weighs every much. It weighs a little more, not a whole lot more. It weighs a little more than a Desert Eagle chambered in 50 cal. It's absolutely ridiculous how much this thing weighs. So this is going to be fun. And I think if I anchored it down with a bipod, I think I could get some steady shots, top it with a little scope, man. I think I'm good to go. I just got to make this happen. So you got a scope? Great. Let me know. I'll borrow it if you're local, if you let me. You got skills? Can you build a little mount for this thing? I'm willing to try it. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll be stuck with the iron sights. I'm cool with that too. But I think a scope would be awesome. If you're skilled and you can help me figure out how to build it, like, it doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be ugly and unrefined as long as it's functional. I would take your skills, man. I would take your help. And I'm going to throw this out there too. I know where to go hunting, right? But you know, anyone listening in the area, if you guys got a little area and you're willing to say, hey man, and I'll be honest with you, you know, hey, I've got a field and the deer come out here and you got like easy spot, like, don't leave the thing out on a leash by any means. But if you know they come out there and you want to be a part of this, you can be in the video. I don't know if that's worth anything to you, but you can be in the video and you could be a YouTube star. No, if you have a little place though, and you want to donate the area and say, hey, you know, there's deer that come down here, come try and shoot one, man, because that would be awesome. But I can't be making any 300-yard shot. Like, I'm going to have to be somewhat stealthy with this 400-pound, High Point 10 millimeter. But I don't know. You may think it's goofy. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be enjoyable. And why not have a good time? And maybe I won't shoot a deer. That would be a bummer. Maybe I won't shoot a deer. And if I don't, I think maybe I'll fire this thing up and go after coyotes. You know, I'll get me a smaller bipod. And I will set myself up in a stand, a little, like, up against some rocks, and maybe I'll call in coyotes, and I'll hunt coyotes with my High Point pistol. Hopefully with my little scope on. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But anyhow, that's just my crazy ideas. So that's what I got going on. And man, and I just, be involved. I just want this to generate some comments. I want to have a good time. If you think I'm dumb, tell me I'm stupid and it's a bad idea, but I'm still going to do it anyway, because why not? I believe it's legal. From what I've checked, it's legal. I think it'll be a good time. Now, I'm still going to do this. I just want to shout this out to everyone. Let everyone know this. I am doing this ethically. I am not going to just start randomly firing at deer, hoping that it works out. I am going to aim. If I don't have an ethical shot, I don't want to see anything wounded. I don't want to see anything suffer. That's one reason why I'm going with the 10 mil, right? Because it's heavy enough caliber. It'll do the job. And I will get out and practice with the gun, ahead of time. So that's why I'm in such a hurry to get this thing outfitted. If I can get a scope on it, to get this thing outfitted with a little scope, so I can practice with it, and get proficient with it. That's the whole thing, right? That's why I want that bipod, so I can hold it steady and I can be more accurate with it and make have more of an ethical chance of killing something without not wounding it necessarily. So. there you go. That's my thoughts on that. That's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned for that. And, you'll still get all the concealed carry news talk and whatnot, obviously. Maybe this will generate its own podcast as far as its own episodes. That would be absolutely fantastic, man. It's all about content. So I couldn't do this without you. I couldn't do this without your support. Get involved, find the social medias, like the podcast, share the podcast, tell your buddies, say, this guy's doing this. It's freaking ridiculous, but it might be pretty good. And share that social media stuff, share that YouTube stuff, share the podcast. And that's why I do all this. So that would be absolutely fantastic. I do appreciate it. You guys have a great week. And I don't know, I'll probably be back midweek or so. I'm a little off on this one. So yeah, the new day is not going to be Sunday. It still needs to be about Tuesday. So I'll probably be back. We'll see how this stuff in New Mexico pans out. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.